Hey guys, welcome to Streak Initiative, and this week we are covering environment-related current affairs questions which are important for prelims 2021. So without much ado, let's move on to the questions here. So the first question is related to nitrogen fixation. And again, nitrogen fixation is a very important topic. It has been asked a lot of times previously in your question papers. So this theme is very much covered in your previous year question papers, and that is why it has been picked up for this particular session as well. So the question is related to actually how nitrogen fixation is done naturally. So you have to identify amongst these options through which this process is done naturally. So number one option we have Azobacter and anaerobic Clostridium. Second is your Rhizobium. Third is your Anabaena and Spirulina, and fourth is your lightning. Now, see, nitrogen fixation is a process basically through which your molecular nitrogen that is there in the air is actually converted into ammonia or related nitrogenous compound in the soil so that it can be ultimately used for that particular organism or green organism. Right. So the idea of biologically, that is naturally converting nitrogen into ammonia is actually done by a lot of different organisms. So Rhizobium is something that is you've actually learned a lot of time in your static portion also. Like it's associated with legumes, and through that that happens. Right. So option 2 is right. And the problem here is that 2 is actually present in all the options. So that will not suffice the need here. Another thing here, nitrogen fixation can happen through a lot of different ways. Number one is your nitrogen fixation that happens through free living heterotrophs, right? So heterotrophic bacteria in the soil can actually fix a lot of nitrogen and with their direct interaction. Right. So example of this heterotrophic bacteria fixing nitrogen includes actually Azobacter, Bacillus Clostridium, and Klebsiella. So by that logic, the option 1 is also right and option 2 is also right. So you have to remember that there are certain free living heterotrophs that can directly convert nitrogen, right? Then there's another way of converting nitrogen is through associative nitrogen fixing, right? So in associative nitrogen fixing, what happens is a species of, say, Azospirillum, right? So Azospirillum is able to form close association with certain members of grasses like Postia, which includes your important cereal crops like rice, wheat, and oats, corn, and barley. And then these bacteria, when they form this associated link with these particular set of grasses, they are able to fix appreciable amount of nitrogen within the rhizosphere of that host plant. So not too much, but a bit amount through associative fixation, nitrogen fixation can be done. So Azospirillum, by that logic, comes under that natural idea. And then there's another method through which nitrogen fixation happens, that is symbiotic nitrogen fixation. Now, in this, what happens is there's a symbiotic relationship between a host plant and that microorganism, and through that, nitrogen fixation happens. So here we have the example of Azolla. Now, Azolla is a symbiosis with Cyanobacterium, which is Anabaena azeola. And in fact, this Anabaena azeola, is the one that helps to fix the nitrogen in that particular grass, right? So you find this process happening a lot of time in wetlands, and by that logic, even third option is right. And fourth option is right also naturally, also through lightning with that excess temperature and conditions. Some of the air particles are actually, converted into usable nitrogen compounds. All right. So the answer for this particular question is D. Next is we're talking about boreal forest. So the first statement here is that boreal forest is a biome which is characterized by coniferous forest which consist mostly of pines, spruces and larch. The second is that taiga. Now, taiga is also boreal forest. Like, these terms are interchangeable. I hope you know that. So, taiga is the world's largest land biome. And the third statement is that soils in boreal forest are usually fertile due to high decomposition activity. And third, that the productivity and community stability of boreal forest is low, right? So you have to identify which statement are correct here. Now, if you look closely, like, this question can be solved through basic understanding. I think you don't have to clearly know about whether it's largest or not. If you have basic understanding about where boreal forest is located, you can easily solve this question. Now, boreal forest, if you know, is actually located in the upper regions where there's cold environment. So in the upper regions of Russia, North America, so all these regions have boreal forest, right? So in those environment, if you look at statements C and D, they are actually clashing. Here it says that soil fertility is very high, and then in the second option it says that community and productivity stability is low, right? So these two statements are in fact clashing. So only one of the statement is going to be right here. And if you have a forest which is at such a high level of latitude, there's going to be very less possibility that it's going to have a very high decomposition activity. Like, you might have a lot of leaves and other decomposed material lying on the ground, but you don't have the temperature conditions for decomposition. So decomposition happens in a particular level of moisture, in a particular level of temperature, right? So when you have very cold temperature, or when you have maybe moisture might be high in those regions, because you do get some rains, they are not excessive, but because the level of sunlight is less, so evaporation is less. So by that logic, humidity might be there, but you don't have the right temperature for microorganisms to grow on an exponential level there. So statement C is wrong, and by that you can easily go and understand that answer is directly B. I don't think you really need to know is it the largest or not, but it is the largest. In fact, it is the largest biome. So the answer is 3. Only the soils related statement is wrong. The statement 1 is right. Yes, it consists of conifer forest, and the statement 2 is also right. It is the largest land biome. And fourth statement is also right, because you have high temperatures there. So the overall productivity is very low in this region. Let's move on to your next question. So the next question was something related to a news piece that was there in your current affairs. So it's about marine spatial planning. Now, the statement 1 here is that it is a globally identified as a tool for sustainable and integrated ocean management. Second is that it will be implemented by Ministry of Earth Sciences through National Center of Coastal Region for India. And third, that in its primary phase, India will conduct marine spatial planning in Lakshadweep and Puducherry in cooperation with Russia. So you have to identify which statement is right. So the answer for this particular question is A. The first and the second statement is right. The third statement is wrong. Now, the islands mentioned in the third statement are in fact right, but the country mentioned is wrong. This particular initiative is actually by India and Norway, and they have joined together to work in the area of marine spatial planning. And in fact, a memorandum was signed between these two countries in 2019, and Lakshadweep and Puducherry have been identified as a site for this particular project, that is marine spatial planning. So this particular project will help, again, like the first statement talks here. It will be a sustainable integrated ocean management tool, and the second statement is also very much right. And in fact, the World Bank and also your United Nations Environment Program have also expressed their support for this particular initiative. And I think, this particular body here, your NCCR, that is your National Center for Coastal and Research, is also important. You should know that what this particular body do. Like, it has been involved in a lot of other initiatives with respect to coastal initiatives also. So you should be aware about that. And yeah, that's it for this, guys. I think this statement is more, this question is more related to your current affair factual knowledge. So that is also important. Like in the previous video also, I told you any new plan, any new body that is created in the recent current affairs, you should know what it is, right? So again, by that logic, this question is here, and the answer for this question is A. The next question is on a wildlife. So it's with respect to platypus. If you've seen cartoons, I think you would know what a platypus is. Other than that also, it's a very common animal that is there in news, and it was actually, in fact, in recent current affairs also, because of the extinction and the climate change related effects that this particular species is facing. So we had a refuge plan that was created with respect to this particular species, and that is why it was in news. So the first statement is that it is one of the 5 species of monostremes, the only mammals that lay eggs instead of giving birth to the young ones. And second is, it is endemic to South America, including Costa Rica, which is classified as vulnerable species. So you have to identify which is the incorrect statement here, right? So the answer here is actually B. The statement 1 is right. In fact, again, monostremes are a set of group of living animals along with your placentals and marsupials. And these species actually, they lay eggs, right? Mammals are known to give birth to their younger ones, but these mammals actually, they lay egg, and that is why they are placed in this group. And there are, again, it says 5 species. So 1 is your duck-billed platypus, and the other 4 species are actually different species of anchidae, right? So enchinadas are basically other 4, and all of these, the platypus and enchiladas, they all are found in a region which is Australia. And in fact, this platypus is also found in Tasmania region, that island near Australia. So by that logic, the second statement is wrong. It's not found in South America. It's native and endemic to the Australian region. In fact, marsupials are also endemic to that region only. So yeah, second statement is wrong, and it is not a vulnerable species under the IUCN ranking. It's near threatened. So the answer for this is B. So any kind of animal that you look, if you check on Wikipedia, make sure you look at their IUCN ranking. It's always there. Like on the right hand side, the box is always made. And just below that, they also usually draw a map and show where that species is present. So those 2 areas are very important. Make sure you always revise that for every species that you cover. The last question of the day is relating to a diatom test, right? So diatoms, you must have heard diatom as a term has been there in your previous year question papers also, right? So there was this question upon arranging this according to the size of the that particular organism. So there was, I think, diatoms, crustaceans, and one more other thing was there, I think. So that was a question there in your previous year paper. So this term automatically becomes very important. So the first statement here is that diatoms are a photosynthesizing algae which are found almost anywhere which is moist. It is used to confirm the cause of death by drowning. And third is that the test is considered positive only when the number of diatoms recovered from the body is more than the minimal established limit. So this question is actually upon the application of diatoms actually. And there's this test called diatom test, which is actually used to confirm the death of any person. If that person has died by drowning, then it confirms that. So the answer for this particular question is D. So what happens is when a person is drowning, so you inhale or gulp a lot of water, right? So that water actually sometimes reaches your lungs, and through that it enters your circulatory system and enters other parts of the body also. Like it might enter your brain, kidney, lungs, and other bone marrow areas. right? So when a person dies by drowning, this happens. So if you take out that person's body and detect diatoms in various parts of the body, you will see that the diatoms will be present there, right? But if a person is already dead and you throw that person in the water, then there's no circulation that happens. There's no water that goes inside the body. So obviously there will be no presence of diatoms in your body. And by that logic, your test will come negative, that this person has not died by drowning. Alright, so that is the basic logic behind this particular test, and the answer for this question is D. So this was an actually interesting question. That application also I came to know about for the first time, and it was there in current affairs. So yeah, hope you were able to also add this particular piece of knowledge to your already big schedule for prelims. So keep on revising, use these videos as small breaks where you can learn about small topics in a quick manner. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Civilsdaily.